So what are some mental disciplines that you see that people who are successful use? What do they do? People who are successful, what are the mental disciplines of those who are top performers in sales or top performers in business versus those who may not have been taught to that way?
That's a big question you're asking me. So the first thing, and it's not, I don't want to, I can't really give you a prioritized list, but I'm just going to give you a list of sorts, and you can prioritize it however you want. But successful people are readers. How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet. So they read. And I think several people have said this, and I think Jim Rohn said it. Your 5 most read books, your 5 favorite books will determine your future. Okay, so they're successful people are readers, number one. And again, not necessarily number one, but they're readers. Number 2, successful people are lifelong learners. I had a stroke. I had 3 brain bleeds. It was a hemorrhagic stroke. Shoulda, coulda, woulda died. So what I'm doing is I'm learning about my stroke, learning about the downside to having had a stroke, which means I'm a higher candidate for another stroke than the average Joe. I'm a higher candidate for all of the neurological diseases, which would be Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia and MS and et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm into a process of studying and learning.
That's right.
So that I can figure out what to do, okay, and what not to do. So a to-do would be leafy greens. This is not medical advice, please. It's not medical advice, okay? I'm just telling you what I'm learning. So it would be leafy greens. It would be olive oil. It would be blueberries. To not do would be refined sugar, the refined carbs, all the different things that we could eat, like potato chips and pretzels.
The ultra-processed.
Ultra-processed food. I need to stop doing that stuff and start doing the olive oil, blueberries, wild-caught salmon's one. There's many of them. And so successful people are lifelong learners. If I wanted to be successful at overcoming my stroke, I needed to take that same approach to the stroke, which is to learn and read and study. So that would be a partial answer to the question. Successful people hang out with other successful people.
Interesting. Yeah.
Again, the 5 books that you read will determine your future. Also, the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And if you're spending time with people who are unsuccessful, you're going to tend to be unsuccessful. And if you spend time with people who are very successful, you're going to tend to be very successful. That's what I did, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm getting around people that are successful, that are teaching me how to be successful with my stroke. But I also did the same thing with the business. I even said, you were there, Derek. I was in the hospital, and I made the announcement that I was going to do exactly what I did for my part in building the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group over all those years, that I was going to do the same exact thing to rebuild the Jim Shorkey body. And that's what I've done. And so when I go to my doctors who are expert counsel, I have a cardiologist, I have a hematologist, I have a seizure disorder on top of everything else. I've had that for years. But I go to my seizure doctor, I have a GP, and I have one more. My blood doctor, my GP, cardiologist, I'm forgetting one. But anyways, but I go to them and they're, Dr. Rosellos, who did the surgery. I showed you guys this car today. It's a rather big one. And sometimes I do goofy shit. But anyways, so I go to see Dr. Rosellos, and they put me through a battery of tests, and then I'm up in the room and I do my blood pressure, my oxygen saturation, and et cetera. And Mike, who is the physician's assistant, comes in, and he stopped in the doorway and he looked at me and he got very emotional. He literally cried. He says, Jim, you look fantastic. So what are you doing? I said, Mike, I'm doing what you guys told me to do. Plus, man, I can't believe it. And he looked at, and then he's looking at the results of the testing I had done before I got up to the office, which I had to do all kinds of different tests. Took about an hour. So he's looking at that and he's like, okay, that's good. Okay. And going through the whole thing. And I said, and he's done. And I said, Mike, let me ask you a question. This is what expert counsel is all about. I said, what can I do to make this better? He says, Jim, give me a minute. He says, Jim, there's nothing you can do. He says, you're doing it. You've done it. He said, keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you in a year. And for those of you who know about these kind of things, generally speaking, when you have a massive episode like I had, you come back in 3 months. And if things are okay, you come back in maybe another 3 months or 4, whatever. And it goes 6 months, 8 months, whatever.
Yeah, you might get to 6, yeah.
But when you get to a year, that means you have resolved the issue. So with my cardiologist, my seizure doctor, my GP, Dr. Rosellos, who did the surgery that I had done, and the hematologist, They're all the same. It's the same. They cannot believe. They are shocked. I was actually at a function, and these doctors were at the function. They just knew what happened to me. They were there, but they weren't my doctors. They were on the periphery. And they said, Jim, what are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm standing there talking. You should not be able to do this. I said, well, I can. And she literally drugged me over to meet her husband, who's also a doctor, an MD. And he couldn't believe it. I can't believe that you're doing what you're doing with what you've been through. So, well, I'm working really hard. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And you can see those mental disciplines happening. I remember talking to you when you were in the hospital, and it was hard for you to even have a conversation with me because you're having such head pain, and you were in a really rough spot. And you're like, you know what? I love talking to you, Derek. I miss you, man, but I'm tired. I need to take a nap.
Yeah.
Versus now, you're walking 13, 14,000 steps a day, taking care of yourself. And for a lot of people, that seems like such a miraculous thing. And I can just see your level of commitment. And so, guys.
Hold on. I was in the hospital, and my son, Jim III, who my kids are amazing. They really were very supportive of me when I was in the hospital. They were just right there. And my son, Jim III, said, Dad, are you in pain? I said, yeah, I'm in pain. Where? I did this. I could barely move. I said, pointed to my head, and I pointed to my toes. I said, everywhere. Wow. And it was bad. I should have, could have, would have died. And most people who know me now, they just kind of have a doubt about it.
Yeah, or like your stroke wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's a minor stroke.
Yeah, it was bad. I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
I remember the next day after the stroke, which I didn't know I had a stroke. I didn't know anything about it. All I know is I woke up the next day. They came in and woke me up, and they kept telling me, they kept saying it, man, you're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. I'm thinking like, what? What do you mean I'm amazing?
You're like, I'm in the hospital. I'm not
what do you mean I'm amazing? And they kept saying that. And the more they said that, I realized that I was at death's door. And that's what they were really saying. They didn't say that, but I realized that I was at death's door. Yeah. And then it went on from there. And I can remember very clearly laying in that bed and coming to the conclusion that I was going to use Rethink You 2.0 to rebuild this body here. And that's what I've done.
Yeah.
And so if you want a testimonial to what we preach, whether or not it works, you're looking at a guy that had a hemorrhagic stroke, which means a vessel in my head burst and I was bleeding on my brain, three brain bleeds. Which means I killed brain. And
you're here.
Here I am.
Yeah. And if you guys are wondering, what are those disciplines that I need to do physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? We talk in Rethink You 2.0 of how to figure that out, right? It's a framework of, you start with your reason why, and there's a lot more than that we're not going to jump into right now.
Yeah.
But you start determining, you work backwards. You start with the end in mind, and you work backwards to, wow, the end is much more the simple discipline journaling and some of those things. The beginning is, let's start at the top. Where are you heading?
Right.
Why? And then we determine through the course how to get there. It's helped my life. I know I was telling you, my wife printed out our discipline journal and is writing things down that she's working on, right? This is really those mental disciplines and those habits that lead to success.
Something that Jim Rohn said to me for years and years, and he was deceased at the time or close to it. Anyways, he said, ask the question, a very profound question. What must I do to begin the process of deserving? So the fact that I want to get total recovery from my stroke means nothing. What must I do to begin the process of deserving 100% recovery from my stroke? What are the things I need to do? And what are the things I need to stop doing? And that's where we come up with the to-do list and the to-not-do list. And I have mine. Believe me, I do. I'm still working on it. I can prove it. I could get downstairs right now, and I'm reading a book by Peter Attia. Guy's brilliant. If you've ever listened to this podcast, the guy's brilliant. That's what I'm doing. Remember, you asked the key to success, right? Lifelong learning, seek expert counsel. So I'm reading this book. I read it, actually. It's called Outlive. Okay, I want that. I want to outlive. So I can show you, I've got these a little like notepad type thing about yo big. And I'm right now on number 26. Of things that I want to do and things that I want to stop doing to get even better yet. Yeah. And I can promise you this, a year from now, when we have another conversation like this, I will be better then than I am now. And another thing Jim Rohn said that I always loved, is what must I do today that my future Jim Shorkey is going to be grateful for? So when I'm, a year from now, when I'm down on the floor with my grandchildren, just playing around, goofing around, having fun, and I will be 68 years old at that time, it's going to be because of the things I'm doing today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Or 10 years from now, which means I will be now 78 years old, roughly 77, 78, and I plan on doing the same thing. I want to be able to go for a walk. I want to be able to go for a hike. I want to be able to ride a bike. I want the things that I want to do. What do I got to do today to set the stage for that? Peter Tia calls it the octogenarian decathlon, I believe. And it's okay. He's talking about being 80, and neither he nor he's my same age roughly. Neither one of us are 80, but he's preparing for 80. Does that make sense? He calls it the octogenarian decathlon, and he wants to be able to do these 10 things. And in order to do these 10 things, he has to do certain disciplines today, tomorrow, the next day, and keep doing them. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, I was with my cardiologist just the other day, and he told me, and I don't know that I got it quite right, so I'm gonna change the words a little bit, but he told me very clearly, he said the number one best therapy for you, Jim Shorkey, is exercise. There's not a drug on the planet that can do for you what exercise is going to do. Now, it doesn't mean you stop your drugs. Please don't do that. But you can do the drugs and the exercise, and you're going to get way better results from those drugs than you would with the opposite of exercise is sedentary. And from what I've read, again, not medical advice, this is just what I've read, the sedentary existence is just not a good thing.
Not a fun one.
We're sitting right now. When we take a break, we get up and move around, and I do that.
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah. Jim, thank you for such practical advice, right? And really leading people to think, okay, what are those successful habits that I can start? What are those disciplines that I can move toward?
And even it's just one, getting the one accomplished today and tomorrow, next, and get that to be a habit, then maybe you can add another one. Now you're at 2 and keep doing, keep going. And those 2 might lead to 3 and 4.
Yeah, I found that true with myself too. It's like, man, there's times where we have setbacks. We talk about this. It's, I haven't worked out 4 days. Oh, I start beating myself up. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I can just start again tomorrow. I don't need to I used to get so stuck in this. Oh, woe is me. Why did I do that? And now it's, I'll just start again tomorrow. Boom. Right? A lot of people wait for the New Year's resolution. They wait for the next thing. And
rise and shine. All I ask you to do tomorrow when you wake up, rise and shine. Mean it. Today, I shine. I know I didn't do so hot yesterday, but I got today. And today I'm going to rise and I'm going to shine. Hit the floor, do them push-ups, Jim. Do some crunches. Let's go.
Yeah.
Go out and see the sun. Go give your wife a hug, Jim. Hang out with the dogs. I love my dogs, Bear and Coda.
Yeah.
they're downstairs right now, but they're just nuts, and I love them. I love them to pieces. So life is good, man. Life is good.
Guys, like this video. It helps more people find this content. Comment below what was practical for you here. Let us know. We love your feedback. We love the people that are like, wow, that was super insightful. We also love the comments that are like, I think Jim's off here, and we'll respond and say, hey, here's why we think we're right, or hey, you're probably right. We were incorrect there.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not.
Yeah, comment and then subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.